Greetings, Vault Hunters all across the 6 galaxies. Welcome to the Bordercast. We're live once again at our slightly later than usual time. What is it? 2:45 Eastern today and 11:45 a.m. Pacific. But typically, it would be 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm Mitsu.
And I'm Tessa, coming to you every week to break down all things Borderlands. We're so happy to be live. We're sorry about our slight delay today. But we're here and we're excited to be here. We're very excited. We have some really, really cool Japanese box art to share with you guys, but more on that later. Thank you guys so much for stopping by again. We appreciate you all a lot.
Now, it was an unforeseen circumstance, but these things do happen. We appreciate everybody coming and hanging out and staying with us. As always, we want to take a minute to thank all of our new listeners on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher, and those listening right now live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Steam, or later on the VOD on YouTube. If you're enjoying the program, we would love for you to give us a big ol' like, follow, or favorite, because Wonderlands! That's it. That's it. I didn't have anything witty this week. I don't know why, but I'm just going to scream Wonderlands, I guess, until we get more information about Wonderlands. I hear if you scream and pout like a child on the internet, you get what you want. Wait, no, you don't. Don't do that. In fact, that gets you the opposite of anything that you want. In fact, it just gets you a ban.
Instead, you can ask super nicely. Just be like, please, can we have more Wonderland stuff, please? Because we love it so much and we're so excited about it. Okay. Speaking of cool Wonderland stuff, apparently Japan actually gets all of the coolest stuff. According to Mental Mars, who is amazing and puts out a ton of really, really cool, he finds all the cool tidbits about all the cool things, Borderlands and Wonderlands related. So you should definitely make sure to check out his website at mentalmars.com. Now, this Japanese box art is beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys. We've got the... Oh, you know what? Hold on. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I tell you the correct editions. Okay.
Yes, because there is box art for the 3 separate editions, right?
Yes, and I have all of it pulled up, but I just realized it's in Japanese, so if I just look at the pictures, I won't know what's what. So anyway, this is the one.
Could I read it?
I only took 1 semester of Japanese. I need to actually relearn it, study it. Anyway, on to the Wonderlands art. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands Japanese box art. This is for the standard edition right there, and it is absolutely gorgeous. First of all, this color combo with the fiery, like, dragons, you know, like oranges and reds, and then the purples in here for Tiny Tina's, and the pinks, and the dragon that she's literally There's a dragon and a shark.
There's a shark, yes. Chained
up together. And... Yeah. There's a mushroom booty in the background that I'm seeing. Okay, this is very important. I see a mushroom butt.
What is with it? Okay, Tess, you need to explain to me, what is it with everybody a mushroom butt? I still don't get it.
I mean, it's just really cute.
Is it?
Yes, I mean, mushrooms are adorable and butts are adorable. So mushroom butts are extra adorable. That's just kind of my take. I mean, look at how cute and little mushroomy. Yeah, okay. I'm ridiculous.
I don't know. You know what? Like, it's you and like Mystique Siren and a whole bunch of other people. I think you're all in tune with something that I just clearly don't understand, because when I think of a mushroom, I'm not thinking of a butt. I'm thinking of, okay, this is going to go delicious on top of my pizza.
I mean, that too, but we like mushroom butts and we cannot. Yeah, okay, you know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to say the whole thing, but there's also, so it's land shark. You can actually see his leg. I was like, wait, is that a dragon leg? Is that something else's leg? It's actually land shark's leg stepping on a skeleton, like a really cool Halloween-y looking skeleton, which I'm sure has nothing to do with Halloween because this game is coming out much later. But anyway, yeah, it's just, I mean, it's fantasy, and this feels like fantasy art, and it's amazing. I just realized I had the wrong thing up. I'm so sorry. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the standard edition art, okay? So let me show you guys the super level up edition. It's literally called the super level up edition. How adorable is that, actually? So just think about that.
Comparatively speaking here, there's a lot less going on in the super level up edition, right?
Yeah, a little bit less.
Yeah, it like the first one that you see guy with knight, you see I assume that's the punch fairy, and we'll talk about that in a second. Mushroom butt and skulls and things like that. And then the super edition just has Tina riding the dragon on one leg and land shark on the other leg with a giant hammer in her hand too. So like there's I guess less is more in this case. Is that the art style behind it?
I think so. Also, it's zoomed in on her and the land shark and the dragon, and there's like this chain that she's using to kind of corral them or to ride them, to like direct them, their rein, so to speak, like you'd have on a horse. But the hammer also looks like a dragon head with little wings, if you look closely, which is so cool. And the lighting and the colors are all like pinks and reds and purples and blues. So it's very, very much similar in feel, but it's zoomed in and just like super, super detailed on just these 3.5 characters. And it's really cool. It's charged up, as Mental Mars would put it, and has put it in chat. I like that. That's a good take on it. Charged up.
I don't know. I am not an artiste, so I don't quite understand why one would be considered super over the other just being normal. And then there's one more, if I recall correctly.
Well, it does make sense. So like in Japan, a lot of, I mean, if you've ever watched any anime really, or like if you've ever, I mean, okay, so one of the thing that this makes me think of is like Sailor Moon, where they would have like an outfit, right? And then they'd go through this magical transformation and they'd be in this like charged lighting scene. And then they'd have like a fancier outfit and more powers. And I just remember that from when I used to watch a lot of it when I was younger. I still love it. Okay, I won't lie. Anyway,
it's a fair comparison because there is baby metal in this game, so there seems to be some influences coming from Japan.
Right?
And this also is Japanese box art, so that makes sense too.
Yeah, so like Mental Mars is absolutely right. It's very much like Tiny Tina focused, and the whole thing is powered up. Like it's powering up as as you look at it, which is the super level up edition, which totally makes sense. Now, the third one is the Chaotic Great Edition. And this one is even cooler. I mean, they're all really cool. I love all three of them, actually. This one is just the dragon and Tina riding the dragon, and it's all golden. So like the Wonderlands, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands letters and all of the Japanese text and the dragon itself, and I think what Tiny Tina's actually wearing. Everything has been goldenified, like it's extra, extra special and amazing, which is so cool. And this is the Chaotic Great Edition. And it's like amidst the clouds and white crystals and stuff.
So my big issue, I have a problem here. I love the first one the best because I like so much going on, and I like the purple and the orange. I'm kind of a sucker for like color juxtaposition when things pop, and purple and yellow pops, right? Just like blue and orange pops, red and green pops. So when I look at something like this, I'm like, oh man, the one I would want to get is the first one. But the third one, if you're a fan of gold and blue, which is, I mean, orange and blue, what we just talked about, again, it catches your eye. And you see her flying there, and she's got the hammer straight up. It almost looks like, is that even the hammer at that point? That looks like a gun. That looks like she's holding some sort of, that looks like a Tediore shotgun or something like that. Unless
it might be
she's
a
holding
gun.
the hammer this way where it's profile right on like that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It could be that she's holding a gun and it's firing, and that's what or it could be the hammer that she was holding before, and it's like got fiery breath coming out of it, if it's the dragon. I don't know. Yeah. Sheriff Pyrak, who's super awesome and hanging out in chat, just said higher edition has more. It looks more like rich and elegant, which I get that. It's like a cleaner, kind of simpler aesthetic, but it is actually very detailed. Like if you look at the dragon, there's so much detail to the dragon's face and like wings and stuff, and the lettering and the lighting in it and everything. So it's still complex, but it's definitely like cleaner, sort of simpler, I guess, more elegant. Maybe, I don't know. Personally, I love the super level up edition because I just love the color combinations in that one so much. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite just because of the blues and the purples. And I like the super level up sort of Tina look. The first one also I really love. It definitely feels almost a little Halloweeny to me for some reason. Maybe it's the orange. I don't know, but I love it. I love seeing all that detail, but like also mushroom butt. It's just so good. But yeah, I think the super level up edition is probably my favorite box art, but the chaotic great edition is chaotic great. It's amazing, of course.
It is. It's, you know, it's a little evocative of Monster Hunter in a way.
Yeah, a little
Riding
bit.
a giant dragon like that, just like going through, and then there's the crystalline like sculptures kind of in the background on top, and then the sky in the bottom. I like it. I don't get me wrong. When I'm like I like this one better, doesn't mean I don't like the other one. I just really like purples and oranges and how much there's going on because it conveys all of the information about the game. There's going to be a mushroom butt. There's going to be a fairy punch father. There's all of these different aspects to it. So we'll have to see. It's. I think it's going to really represent the game in a great way. And of course, as always, just like in Mega Man, Japan gets all the best box art, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, they do. I want to get a Japanese edition. I want the super level up edition. I'm ridiculous. Okay, I have no reason to do that at all, but I want it. I just want Wonderlands.
There are places you can get it.
Oh yeah,
There's you can have it imported.
possible. I mean, I just want the game like
Well, that
right
too, yes.
now. I do. I just want the box because I'm gonna get the I guess the U.S. edition, right? Speaking of which, there is a special version of the game that you can get if you purchase on the Epic Store. If you use one of the special links from myself or Mitsu or any one of the team members, any one of our team members, like Jolts or K6, there's a whole bunch of us. Moxie, that are on the team. And if you use our links, you will get a very special cosmetic pack, the Knights of Butt Stallion pack. So make sure you check out people's Twitters, check out people's Twitch channels to grab that link for yourself if you're going to get the game on Epic.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be us, but one of the teammates, because you should just do that. Because Knights of Butt Stallion. Okay. Knights of Butt Stallion. That's all I'm going to say.
We should just take a second to emphasize, though, because this has been a point of discussion in the community, that the Knights of Butt Stallion pack is only available for those of you who are pre-ordering via the Epic Game Store.
I did say that.
It is not available via console. It is not available, unfortunately, via Steam as of this time. So just keep that in mind if you are interested in obtaining it. Very important.
Yeah. So good to know. And another cool thing that I gave you a little bit of a sneak peek of by accident, but Tiny Tina has a fairy punch father. Okay, and the real identity of Tiny Tina's wonderful fairy punch father is something that Mental Mars wrote about. So here is the really, really cool looking art for that. I love this so much. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. First of all,
My siren is the prettiest siren.
he has the most
He got his pretty
beautiful
siren.
wings. Yeah, exactly. It's so cool.
So
It's
yes,
so cool.
indeed, Brick seems to be taking on a fairy punch father kind of role. So first of all, this means Brick is going to be in the game in some capacity, which makes me very happy to know. And should be unsurprising, all things considered, because everybody hasn't really gone their separate ways yet in terms of the continuity of Borderlands, because this takes place right after Assault on Dragon's Keep. So it stands to reason that Brick would be involved somehow, and that leaves the door open that hopefully Mordecai might be involved somehow, and other voices and friends that we miss sorely will be involved somehow throughout the course of the game, which will be very exciting.
I'm so excited. Oh my God. I definitely, I mean, I foresee them bringing, back or bringing forth all kinds of characters, because this takes place after the DLC, the Tiny Tina DLC from the second game, right? So like anything that happened in the third game could make it in, but doesn't necessarily have to, right? Anything that happened in the first game or the second game, obviously, or the pre-sequel could be in there. Really, they can do whatever they want. And that is so awesome to me. Like, we could see Maya, who's my favorite. We could see all kinds of really cool characters, maybe that we haven't seen before, maybe that we have and have just missed. And of course, the mushroom butt. Just saying.
I would like to see, because now we know that Brick is involved in the game somehow, right?
Yes.
I would like to see threads of the beginnings of the B team in the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
That would be really cool to see, like, how the B team was formed. But, like, obviously, it couldn't be the B team's formation because she's older. But maybe at the end of the game, it's like the start of a good thing.
Well, yeah, it just indicates, oh, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we were a team and we did X, Y, and Z? And X, Y, and Z is a direct reference to what happens in Borderlands 3.
Yeah, that would be so neat. Oh my God, so much speculation. I wish it was here already. I just don't want to wait. I'm very impatient to have this game. Like, here.
What is? I think they had the official launch date. What is it? The 25th?
The 25th,
of March.
March 25th. Yeah.
Okay, good. I did get it right. Okay. Wow. Memory not failing me, and I didn't have coffee today, kids. So just keep that in mind.
Why?
I know, right? Wow. So, it would be nice to see Fairy Punchfather. I hope that it's a little bit more involved than a quest giver. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I'd
so
like
cool
to
looking.
see. Yeah. I definitely like to see Brick kind of flying around and punching things and doing cool stuff. Also, I just want to point this out. One of the pictures has Brick using siren wings for his fairy Punchfather, and then the other one on the Japanese box art is butterfly wings.
Oh yeah. Hold on, is that on the first
I don't know
one?
if that's an inconsistency
Yeah,
or
that's
if
on
it's
the
going to
first
start
one.
as one and maybe transfer over to the other, or
Well, aren't the siren wings from something? That I feel like that's from one of the games. I've seen that image before somewhere, and I don't know where. It's just in my brain.
you know, maybe, or it could be a Photoshop. Maybe literally
It could be a Photoshop,
Mental
yeah.
Mars just put that together because he's like, this is what it should. Well, because it makes sense because Brick said he wanted to be the prettiest siren.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before, but I don't know. It might have been on Mental Mars' website because I literally have a permanent tab to it open. But yeah, on the box art that you guys are looking at right now, he's got some beautiful fairy wings, like butterfly wings. I mean, he is the fairy Punchfather, right? So it makes sense. Yeah, so Mental Mars made that image, Brick plus siren wings in Photoshop. Maybe I've just
Okay, there you
seen
go.
those siren wings before on
It looks a lot
someone.
like angels.
Yeah, are those angel wings? Mental Mars can tell us because he's so cool and he's chilling in chat. MentalMars.com, you guys. Make sure you are checking out that website. You could just like have your homepage do it. Just saying.
Not a bad idea,
nice.
actually.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Frick with fairy wings and adorable shenanigans happening. Angel wings. Yeah, it must be. That's why. Because I'm like, I know I've seen that picture of Brick. I know I've seen those angel wings before, those siren wings, but I guess I haven't seen them together. It's just, I've looked at so much Borderlands stuff for so long and so often that I think it's just like it's like burned into my brain in the best way. So I just recognize it. Feels like home.
Yes, it does. Along the same vein of Wonderlands, Matt Cox was doing an interview and revealed that in Wonderlands there will in fact be lucky dice scattered through the world. And if you find them, it will actually roll in front of you and pop out the number that you get, which corresponds to how good the loot that you get out of that lucky dice. So that it was worded a little clunky, so I'm trying to kind of exactly figure out what he means by this, but the general overall concept that I'm trying to get from it is it's a lot like Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. You roll dice and then you get loot corresponding to how well you rolled that dice.
Yes. Hopefully the numbers are a bit more forgiving than in Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, where only
Yes,
a
please.
20 yielded purples. Yeah, so it might be in only double 20s should you have spent the Iridium awarded legendaries. So yeah, it would definitely be nice if you got really good loot out of the lucky dice drops. I don't know though. I mean, we don't want to have the overabundance of loot issue. We want like a nice balanced place with the loot, which I feel like they're going to have that because they've figured it out with Borderlands 3, right? Like it took a little while, but between the community feedback and the devs being amazing and making like constant incremental changes to the game over the last 2 years, and listening to the community so much and like that back and forth that's been so good. Borderlands is in a really, really great place with all that. So hopefully that carries over into Wonderlands, even though it is a completely separate game. Obviously, it's the same company and all that. So hopefully it carries over and the loot is in a good place from the beginning. But we do know, even if it's not, like even if there's too much good loot or not enough good loot, whatever happens, we know that Gearbox will support the game at least as fully, or like of course as fully as they do Borderlands 3. So I'm sure they'll also like make updates and changes and work with the community, because why wouldn't they? They've literally shown themselves to be one of the most attentive and sort of involved developers with the community for their games ever, and it's really cool to see that, and I'm sure good things will happen with Wonderlands because of that.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how the game has developed. They're definitely taking influences from Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. I think they recognized very quickly that Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep was a very successful DLC. It's probably one of the most beloved DLCs in all of Borderlands history, period, end of sentence. So it's like, I'm glad they're taking some of the core concepts that were introduced there, like the dice rolling effect, and bringing it in. Not that dice rolling is specifically unique, of course, to Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. Of course, it's been around since dice were invented, which was probably like 3000 BC.
Yeah, and so, it's a D&D thing.
Exactly, and it's a D&D thing, jumping ahead 2,500 years, however long. D&D, wait, oh, okay, like 5,000 years. There you go, because I said 3,000 BC. So quick math. So yeah, I want to see what else they can squeeze in there that's so core concept to D&D. And along those lines, they mentioned hero points. And one of the questions that was asked is, do these hero points, which we learned about very briefly, does it replace the badass system in previous Borderlands? Is that being replaced with these tokens? And according to Matt, they do not. There is an end game that involves these hero points, but it was not something that was up for discussion at this time. So whatever they have in mind, it's an end game situation, activity, stat sheet, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, we don't know, but we're going to have to wait a little while longer to find out. However, the hero point system is something that you will get right off the bat alongside badass tokens.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it seems like there's going to be multiple systems of maybe hero tokens or hero points are a currency, or maybe it's for a separate stat sheet that you will be leveling up in tandem with the badass tokens, or whatever you want to say for whatever they come up with for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But it's very clear that it is not a replacement. It is in addition to.
So I wonder if it's going to work like D&D, where you have, so like when you level up in D&D, right? A couple of different things can happen, and it depends on your character and your class and your race and all these different things. But basically, there's like a stat block, a set of stats that you have, like your strength, your vitality, your intelligence, your wisdom. I'm confusing a couple of different tabletop RPGs, please forgive me. But there's basically a few different stats, right? Like they said, luck will be a stat. Charisma is a stat in D&D, things like that. And you get like a base set of stats when you initially, create your character. You can either roll for them or you can put them however you like. And then those are the stats, and those things influence the math of the other things that you can do, because then you also have your like skill tree. Basically, the way you create a character, like let's say you make a monk in D&D, you like decide which path you want to go down, and you get certain like level of things because you're a monk following this specific path, and you get these abilities or this ability. And they, like, when you roll the dice for those abilities, like when you do an attack, it's like based on that, right? But it also can be based on your stats. Like it's the combination of the two sets of numbers. So I'm wondering if that's what hero points are. Like as you level up, you can select more skills from a skill tree. I'm guessing, this is speculation, but like let's say you choose like a ranger class or something, right? And you have a base set of stats: strength, vitality, endurance, whatever, charisma. I'm making this up, but
Of
basically.
course.
And
Yeah.
then you also have your skill tree, right? And your skill tree is like your actual abilities and the things that we're used to in Borderlands, but like specific to like the ranger class, right? And so every time you level up, you get to put some points into your skill tree, but you also get to put hero points into those stats. I'm guessing that's what it maybe works as. I'm guessing badass. Yeah, like it makes sense that badass tokens would be kind of like guardian tokens. I'm guessing hero tokens or hero points will be more like ability points that go into like your base stats, like your strength, your charisma, etc. I don't know.
Well, I think there's a precedent set where people got a little confused or speculative because badass tokens in Borderlands 3 were turned into guardian tokens, right? So everybody heard hero points and their mind went to, oh, this is a
Yeah.
new thing again. And so that's why they were kind of like, okay, let's bring it back and say, oh, this is going to be what the new system's called. But the indication seems to be that no, they're completely separate systems altogether. So
Yeah. Like I think hero points will be more like your ability points that get put back into that or
mhm.
put into that base stat block that isn't the same as your like skill trees. So
Yes.
your basic level up points like they do now will get put into skill trees or your character trees or however they're called. And then your hero points will be your like basic stats. Like if you ever played I don't know, a Souls game or something like that, you have like endurance and vitality and strength and dexterity, things like that, right? You have that in D&D also. You have dexterity, you have intelligence, wisdom, etc. And you like those numbers as well as your points into the trees combine to actually make things go
Work.
the way they're going to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm guessing this is my D&D brain. Also, my D&D brain is very confused because I've now played 5 different tabletop RPG systems, and I'm a little confused. But it's okay. It's good. They're all kind of similar, but kind of different, and they're all fun. So
You'll be able to rein
Wonderlands.
it back in when it comes back to video games because you won't have to worry about doing like the math and figuring these things out as much.
Well, yeah, I've never played a tabletop game in person. Bunkers and Badasses will probably be the first one. And I am very scared of the day when I actually have to do the real math because I'm so used to using something like Roll20, which is in fact the only thing I've ever used. That's not true. I've used Foundry, but Roll20 is kind of like a industry standard for doing tabletop shows.
Yes.
And so we've used it on Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, which is my like dragonborn character that's traditional D&D. We've used it for Sunkissed, which was a vampire tabletop show that just ended. We're going to be using it for Drifting, which is a tabletop show that is starting. I'm starting a new one. It's based in space. It's very cool.
In space.
Yeah, I'm really excited. That one's going to be on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, which is the same as the vampire one, but it's a whole new show with some new characters, and I'm excited, actually. That's starting on the 11th of October on The
Nice.
Wandering Inn. Yeah. So
You're a
lots of
busy
different
bee.
systems.
You're a busy bee.
Yeah. I just
So-
really love roleplay stuff. Fun.
Yeah. Real quick, one of the most important things that I think it's worth highlighting as well when I'm looking over show notes is there seemed to be in the YouTube comments section a little bit of confusion. I've noticed this on Twitter as well, occasionally in some of the Twitch chats. It's worth just pointing out that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is its own standalone game. If you haven't figured that out by now, it really is. It's its own whole new entity. You don't need Borderlands 3 if you want to play it. You get Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and it's completely new concept, completely new story, completely new characters, with the character basically being you, which is going to be fun. So just make sure that you keep that in mind going forwards, because I've seen a lot of confusion out there still about it. Which goes back to talking about the box art, because why would they have box art for a DLC? This isn't 2000. I point over to my Sims box art DLCs.
Yeah, that is a really important point, though. This is a whole new game a
Yes.
whole new potential franchise, right? It's just like if you ever watched like NCIS and then they started a new show called NCIS LA. It's a whole new show that has 12 seasons, right? So hopefully, I'm very hopeful, and I think everybody's very hopeful and optimistic because we're all so excited about Wonderlands that Wonderlands is going to become a new franchise to run alongside the Borderlands franchise, right? So like hopefully there'll be a pure speculation, but hopefully there'll be a Borderlands 4 someday. Hopefully there'll be a Wonderlands 2 someday, and a Wonderlands 3 and Wonderlands 4 because it's just, I mean, there's so much potential here, right? And as Tina grows older, she can have all kinds of crazy adventures with new friends that maybe she meets in Borderlands and then they end up in Wonderlands and the two can like coexist, right?
A lot of crossover there.
Yeah, so much potential. So it is its own thing. It's a whole new game. There's new systems built into it, like the character creation and the overworld and all of this stuff. So I just want to
be good.
Here.
It will be. Maurice's vending machine has moved once more this week, taking place on Necrotafeo in the Pyre of Stars. This week, we get treated to the tidal wave, which a lot of longtime players of Borderlands are very familiar with the tidal wave. We have the Horizon, which is, it's fine. It's a shotgun, but most shotguns are kind of when you compare it to the Lob. But I'm biased on that one.
I am too. I love the Lob.
And then one of my favorite legendaries in the entire game at this time. It was the very first legendary I ever picked up in Borderlands 3 when I was playing Borderlands 3 proper, not the LA reveal, real Borderlands 3. Ruby's Wrath.
Oh yeah, I remember you being super hyped about that gun, like crazy. It was so cute.
You can go back to the very early episodes of the Bordercast and see how excited I was for Ruby's Wrath. And for those of you who don't know what it does, Ruby's Wrath is an Atlas rocket launcher where you pop out the tracking device, and anybody who gets hit by the radius of the tracking device will then, it is a 7-in-1 rocket launcher. So one rocket fires 7 rockets, and all 7 rockets will home in and split themselves amongst how many targets are actually hit. So if you hit only one target with tracking, they're getting tracked down by 7 rockets. It's so much fun to use. Early game, it was insane, just the amount of work that it put in, because it's a rocket launcher and you're putting out 7 rockets for one rocket, which is crazy. It was a lot. Like, it's a great gun. I wouldn't use it at max level. There are very few guns that in the rocket launcher category that I probably would at this particular juncture. I can't really, I'm sure there are ones out there. None are jumping out at mind, but that's because, again, I didn't have coffee today. Besides the yellow cake, I know somebody's going to say yellow cake. Just going to head that one off at the pass. But yeah, definitely go pick yourself up a Ruby's Wrath. Maybe turn down the mayhem levels a little bit, but have fun with it. It's a great gun. It really is.
Yeah, it really is a great gun. 2K's Next Makers program is in full swing. Content creators, definitely make sure you take note. If you want to learn more about it, definitely feel free to ask any of us or any of our teammates on the Borderlands stream team, or there's a really amazing group of NBA guys and just lots of really awesome creators. So make sure you come hang out and ask us questions. We're happy to answer those anytime. And Mitsu got a message from Typhon DeLeon himself.
I did. This okay. So the backstory to this is I'm very active on Twitter, twitter.com/Mitsu Show. There's the cheap plug. And my favorite character in Borderlands is for sure Shatanis, but number 2, and he climbed up and clawed up and like strifed up those ranks, has been Typhon DeLeon. I love the accent. It reminds me a lot of being in New Jersey, and my grandfather in some ways. He did sound kind of like Typhon DeLeon, honestly. And so it's a great character. It's the first Vault Hunter ever. The first Vault Hunter. And I just love everything about him. So of course I've been talking significantly about it, and we had our anniversary show a few weeks ago, and we had last week's show where we were getting very speculative. And word got back to the man himself who voices Typhon DeLeon. No, it's not me. No, it's not Damn It to Hell. It's Michael Cosner, who is also a developer at Gearbox. And he sent me a message. Do you happen to have that for the people, or should we just send them the links in the bios and
I put the
descriptions?
link in the chat. For some reason, I don't have this open, but I might be able to get it open if you give me a minute.
No, take your time. While you're doing that, a special and huge thank you to Michael for humoring me and like surprising me with that super kind message. It pretty much solidifies that Typhon actually is my favorite Vault Hunter, and still probably number 2 in terms of characters. It's really, really hard to beat Tannis, but I mean, in like fan canon shipper brain Mitsu, he definitely puts Typhon and Tannis together now. Although I still would have liked to meet Leda. That would have been really nice. Michael also went on to confirm, unfortunately, because we were being very speculative about why he said he was getting back into the role of Typhon, that unfortunately it was for preparation and execution of his Dallas Expo fan tour, or Dallas Fan Expo tour, which essentially means he was just doing it while he was walking around in costume, which we showed the costume on last week's show, and that thing is bananas.
It's so cool.
It was so good. Unless he's just saying that to throw us off of the trail.
It's possible.
You never know.
Okay,
It could be both. Man can dream. All right. I really like Typhon DeLeon. Oh, right. I guess I should do this real quick, too, in case it ever gets back to him. So this one time, I was hanging out on Twitter. Turns out the real Typhon DeLeon decided to send the fake Typhon DeLeon a message. Then we all hung out and definitely did not have a bunch of beers at Moxie's bar.
All right, I've got it to show you guys. I'm sorry.
You got it?
I wasn't logged into Twitter on that PC. Okay, I think we're good to go.
Hey, Mitsu. Sorry you couldn't make it down to see old Typhon in Dallas. But if you ever find yourself orbiting Necro the Fail, give my echo a ping. I'm always happy to see a smiling face. Smile you later, Vault Hunter.
It's so cool.
It's so good.
It's really, really, really cool that he did that. That's really sweet. Really, really sweet, right?
Yeah.
I did put the link into the Twitch chat. I'll try to put it in the podcast description too, so you guys can check it out for yourselves in case you're not able to right now. But yeah, it's really, really cool. That's really neat.
My
that he
sister
did
was
that.
over when I saw the tweet, and she was like, "What's going on? Why are you smiling like that?" I was like, "Typhon DeLeon sent me a message," and then I played it for her, and she's like, "Oh, that's really cool."
That is really, really cool.
Yeah, that one completely caught me off guard. Oh, right. All right. Enough of me fangirling over Typhon DeLeon, which I could do all day and every day. As we ramp up in excitement for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, there's been a hot button topic that's been happening as of late, and it's a very simple discussion. Should weapons from previous Borderlands games return in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands? And it's really a discussion worth having. I've noticed how polarizing it's actually been. I've seen people who have gone straight from absolutely not, none whatsoever, we want to see what the creative vision of the team can be, no returning guns, just completely new stuff all over the place, to, you know what, throw them in there, why not? Let's get some of the classics in there as well. Let's have a little bit of fun with them. And it's ranged through the spectrum of nothing to absolutely. Tess, what do you think about it?
I feel like it's a really hard thing because when you see returning guns or even items or anything returning at all, it gives you this feeling of like warmth and nostalgia, and it's really nice. However, if it's the same super OP thing, you're like, well, I want new things. It's a new game, right? If it like, you don't want that to be the meta because you want a new meta. You want to be excited about the new thing. However, if it isn't as good and you're so used to it being good, you like can't help but be disappointed. So like no matter what, there's this weird feeling going on. Like you're happy, but you're not happy. But so I don't know. I feel like if you want to be really, really simple, it's probably better to just leave the past weapons in the past and just have new guns, because then no matter what you don't have to worry about making the old guns not quite good enough or too good or like whatever. You just don't have to worry about that. You can just go crazy with all new things, and it's exciting and fun. And I totally understand why, like in Borderlands 3, they only have a few returning weapons, right? Because it really is. It's like it's a double-edged sword because there's no right answer there, and you're definitely not going to make most people happy with that. I think everybody's going to be like a little bit squirmy about it, but everybody wants them a little bit. So maybe just a few, maybe just like 2 or 3 max, and then the rest is all new fun stuff. I think it's easier. It's easier for everybody involved if you do it that way. It's just my opinion.
It's worth keeping in mind before we continue the discussion that it has been confirmed, of course, that Wonderlands will take place nearly immediately following the events of Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, which means that a lot of the weapons that we're familiar with now in Borderlands 3 will likely not be able to show up, unless the implication is that somehow Tiny Tina created them in the first place in her mind in Bunkers and Badasses, and then someone heard that idea and decided to make it a reality, which in the context of the Borderlands universe is absolutely possible. I could see that being a justification somewhere down the line. The other way you could go about thinking of it is lateral thinking, which is kind of a terse but fair justification. But from a writing perspective, that's kind of hard to justify to players that, oh, okay, so some of the brilliant minds at Maliwan developed, I don't know, what's a good Maliwan gun? No, that's Torg. Let's say Torg. Okay, let's say Tiny Tina came up with the lob, right? And so the lob is in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which would explain actually how Torg found out about the lob in the first place. But if you don't make that connection, then you'd have to be like, oh, somebody at Torg came up with the lob for Borderlands 3 7 years later. But Tiny Tina also came up with it 7 years beforehand.
Also,
so, like,
I feel like this is
how do you sell
my
that?
capitalism brain. But Tiny Tina could then sue all the companies for like intellectual property rights, right? Because she came up with all of it. That could cause some problems. Although it could be funny, like later on down the line, like when Tina's older in future games, like there could be just a scene of her in this, like she's still herself, she's exactly the same, but she like invites you home to play D&D, and she now lives in this like ridiculous mansion, and it's huge and crazy and like super opulent and rich, and people are like, wow, you live here? How wow. Those you know, that like B team paycheck must be really intense. And she'd be like, oh, I sued all the companies that stole my gun ideas.
That's really on brand. That's really good.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I actually really think Mental Mars made a really good point that the weapons in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands should stand on their own, and Borderlands weapons could be like kind of fan service, like referenced in story. But not necessarily actually there as usable things. I do think that's a really good idea too. But yeah, it would be kind of funny if in like Borderlands 5 or 6 or something, Tina's like older and she just has this mansion, and it's because she sued all the companies for stealing her gun ideas.
See, I was going to go another way with it. I thought we were actually going to do a mission where Tina's actually wearing like a suit and we accompany her to the courthouse.
That would be cool.
And like, I don't know how that goes down, but of course the end result is Tina gets her money, but we actually get to see her. Like it's a side quest, obviously. I don't know how you would weave this in a main storyline because it's not at all. But the side quest would be literally like helping Tina get representation in court for the lawsuit in the first place. And then afterwards she gets the money. And then in like, so you do that in 4, and then in 5, we get to go to her ridiculously ostentatious mansion.
Yeah.
And she's like, and for the people who don't, they slip in something in there, like a one-liner, like, oh yeah, I sued a whole bunch of companies and made a billion dollars.
Yeah.
And I just win.
I
So
just think
either or
funny.
I think would be fine.
Yeah, I think it would be really funny. I can't see Tiny Tina in a suit. I mean, I can, but I can't. I feel like she just
That's the
blew up
point.
the courthouse.
You can't. So how funny would it be if she showed up in a suit one day somewhere? You don't expect it, but there it is. There she is.
True.
Walking down the street. Oh, hold on, DMCS. Our very own Sheriff Pyrrhic wanted to share some of her thoughts as well before we get a little bit more feedback from all of you as to what she felt on the subject, as well as some interesting statistics that kind of back up that belief with the Borderlands server. Pirate goes on to say, does she want to see returning guns from Borderlands and Wonderlands? Yes, 100% yes. The Borderlands franchise was always full of references to movies, guns, games, pop culture, and finding those references was always exciting for the community. Seeing your favorite gun yet again amongst the drops in a new game is giving you that familiar, comforting feeling of nostalgia of using it before, which I think is why a lot of people have noticed the sword explosion and been really shouting out and trying to push for the sword explosion to make a return, which I think that would be a really, really cool idea to have in. That being said, seeing how some of the guns return but with a twist, but looking different or having a different effect is exciting, and Wonderlands opens us up to so many new possibilities, including turning them into melee weapons. For example, imagine the face puncher as an actual sword. So if you had a look into the demo PDF for Bunkers and Badasses, you know that that's more than possible to actually happen. And there is a standard already set for the Sandhawk. The Sandhawk was an SMG. Now it's a sniper rifle. Who's to say you couldn't make the face puncher an actual sword in Tiny Tina's? The only thing is we're going back to what we talked about just before. Oh, Tina came up with the idea first and somebody stole it. Or lateral thinking, either or.
Yeah. You could also do like face puncher. I like the idea of the face puncher as a sword, but I feel like it would have to be called the face slicer or something. And if you wanted to do like a face puncher, you could do one of two things. You could do like brass knuckles, but like really fancy, spiky, crazy ones, and then just be like literally face punch, right? Or you could do the face puncher as like a shield, like a buckler that you can use, like, you know, the swashbuckling, like you slice and then you like punch him with your little sword. Okay, I've played too many video games.
Nah. Yes. So I've played too many video games. Pierre goes on to say that for one thing, I hope it's not viable that it will be in the meta. Like, or I hope that it won't be meta. Being viable is fine. If you see a gun that gives you a comfy nostalgia vibe like the Herald, I do want to shoot it and try it out, but you know, I don't want to see it become meta at all. Yeah, does it even matter though if a gun is meta? Honestly, I would like to take a look into the Borderlands Discord to give an answer, which of course she does. Of course, these statistics are not 100% accurate because then we'd have to go through about 10,000 messages. And she wants to add that, like any other player in the game, they're more invested in it. You know, it's hard to put together that invested definitive lists of metagear because it changes on who you play and what kind of setup and build that you run with, and your playstyle too. Some meta builds don't necessarily work for every single player. Others might. It depends on what your skill level is, what you're comfortable using, what you prefer to use. Tess, for example, loves her submachine guns. A build that is all around sniper rifles and shotguns, probably not going to be as effective as a submachine based build, right?
I mean,
I'm not saying you couldn't use it. I'm just saying, which one are you going to skew yourself a little bit more towards?
Yes, definitely. I am a submachine girl forever for life.
So that being said, since Borderlands 3's release, meta was mentioned in various contexts over 10,000 times. Wow. Among those, meta gear, guns, and shields was mentioned about 2,400 times. Going further, comments and questions about best gun for X were brought up 3,800 times. In contrast, mentions of best Vault Hunter character occur about 3,300 times. So it still gives Pyrrhic hope, as all things are asked more often than saying, for example, oh, Ava bad, which was only said about 1,000 times. So people are still focusing more about the actual game than they are about just aspects of the story that they don't like, which is great to see, because when it's just an overwhelming cacophony of screams that something is bad in a game, that kind of drowns out all the good, which means all things considered, in a place where you absolutely can share that kind of feedback, the overwhelming feedback is we want to know more about what makes this game great and how we can be great at this game, as opposed to the bad in it. So I think that's
let's face it, there's a lot more good than bad in this game, way more. So that kind of makes sense and is also good to hear that there's empirical evidence.
Yes. So to summarize, people do care about meta in the best gear possible, and therefore she is led to believe that old gear should not be the best. We have a new game, and we want to try new things, including new gear as well, and not making things that we already are used to meta, so that we can all focus on the next iteration of Borderlands. I think that's very well said.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like having some reference to old guns, maybe some changed items, like everyone has said, would be great just for the nostalgia feels, but definitely new and exciting things kind of being more the top gun, so to speak. Would be better.
That's a good that's a good reference, and also a really good quest line in Borderlands too, if you never did it. I'm looking at what chat has have to say. I've seen, once again, some people are saying just straight up no, new weapons only. I see some people saying, okay, well, maybe after you finish that campaign, some of the end game content might be able to drop some comfy nostalgia guns, which I'm okay with that. I think that that's a good way to look at it too.
I also feel like, so Sheriff Pyrick just said in chat that an idea came up for bringing guns that were kind of story, or bringing weapons that were kind of story elements, not like usable for us in any of the Borderlands games, like Zero Sword or Krieg's Buzz Axe, bringing those into Wonderlands as usable items for us, right? Which would be so cool.
Those better be pearlescents.
Yeah. Oh my God.
like very few people better have those.
Yeah, but those are guns. Those are weapons, not guns, but weapons that we've never had the opportunity to use. So they're actually going to be like new, but they definitely have that nostalgia feel because we've seen some of our favorite, Zero, Krieg, some of our favorite characters using them, and then we get to play with them. That would be amazing. And those should be OP in my opinion if that happens. I hope that happens. I really like that. Yeah.
I was about to say, I'd be like, says you, we haven't had a chance, and then pull up my my Krieg's Buzz Axe and be like this, but I don't have it. It's in my living room right now, and I can't just like abandon the show and run and get it, even though the gag would have been so worth it. Yeah. But that's just where my mind was like, yeah, you sure about that? Buzz Axe, and there it is. Yeah, cool. I think that there's a lot of passion. I know. I don't think the people who are saying absolutely none are wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but all Borderlands games have always had a few guns in them that are referential back to previous games. Those guns typically aren't in the meta at any stretch of the imagination. I cite the Hellfire, for example. The Hellfire was very strong in Borderlands 1. It was not strong at all in Borderlands 2. And in Borderlands 3, everybody forgets it's even in there in the first place. So you have to look at it from that perspective. And like, if they're going to put it in, I don't think it's going to be meta. I think it's just going to be there for the sake of having it. And that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think they know how to tread that line,
yes,
as carefully as possible. Yeah, like I like the idea of having those items that we have used before be in the story best, because I do feel like for example, the double penetrating Unkempt Herald, right? That's the gun everybody loved so much, and it feels so different in Borderlands 3 that to me it's like just doesn't feel right? And I loved that gun, and it was nostalgic and sweet, and like I had to go get it, but then I never really used it after I tried to shoot it a couple of times because it just didn't quite feel right? And that, like, it wasn't bad. It definitely wasn't bad. It's just that I would rather see like somebody else using it in game that's a character, like make that a story thing. So then I can't use it and compare it to the old one, but I can still have that nostalgic feeling. That would be neat.
Yeah. So I think it's a discussion that's going to continue to rage on for some time. Yeah. There is no right answer. It's art. Art form is subjective. So we'll talk it out, and whatever Matt Cox and his team decide is what they'll eventually end up with. Hey, Tess, guess what? What a surprise. We've run out of time. You believe
we
it?
Never do that ever.
No, ever, right? We never go long. Well, we're not long, but we're right on the cusp of being about time for today's show. And I apologize because we went very late, but it wasn't because anything else, and we were late because of technical difficulties. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out and sticking with us a little bit later than usual, and not just being like, oh, they're late. We're sorry.
Yeah,
We didn't
thank
want to
you,
be.
guys.
We hate being late.
Thank you for your patience. We appreciate
Thank
it
you.
a lot. We do.
Yes.
You guys
All
are
right.
awesome.
You want to bring us home?
Sure. Thank you guys so much for watching. Whenever we stream on this beautiful channel with this beautiful content on all of the channels, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Steam. Thank you guys so much for hanging out on Twitch, of course. Thank you for all of our listeners on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, YouTube Music, and Stitcher. And we are usually here on Twitch at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Thursdays. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Steam, sorry. Every week. So we will be back next week, hopefully on time. Hopefully the technology will not rebel. We've wrestled it into submission for today, at least.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. We really appreciate it. And Mitsu, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Oh, twitter.com/Mitsu Show, MITSUSHOW, where I've been good. I haven't really tweeted as much as I have been in previous years, but I'm kind of, I guess I'm biding my time and collecting everything until I just like start dumping Wonderland stuff on everybody, and that'll be a lot of fun. So for now, we're just gonna hang out there. Twitch.tv/Mitsu, MITSU, if you want to come hang out when I stream. I actually streamed the other day. It was really cool to see everybody and hang out for a little while. It was nice. This is a pretty comfortable long stream, and I don't know, we'll probably do it again in the near future. Like I said, as things develop and as I am able to expand where I am in life, it'll be a lot easier for me to get back in that swing of doing things when I don't have to worry about screaming so loud I wake up an entire neighborhood of people, which is what I used to do. So,
Well, good.
And Tess, where can they find you?
Tess Games on Twitter and Instagram, which I need to post more on Instagram. I post stories a lot on Instagram, but I don't actually post a lot on Instagram, so I will try to remedy that. But Twitter, of course, Tess Games, and Twitch, Tessa, CHKA, or Tessichka. I stream every Saturday or Sunday. Usually it's Saturday, so in the late evenings, like 7, 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'm trying to stream maybe one day a week, maybe 2 days a week during the week as well around the same time on my Twitch channel. But I also am live every Friday on Table Story for Rime of the Frost Maiden. It is a really, really cool D&D tabletop RPG show. The production is crazy amazing, and I definitely recommend you stopping by and checking that out. It's at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then on Mondays, starting on the 11th, I will be on The Wandering Inn, twitch.tv/The Wandering Inn, for Drifting, which is a really cool space-focused tabletop show, and it's a whole new thing. So starting from the beginning, it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. So we will see what happens. Man, it's there's so much going on out there. You are a busy bee. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn.
yeah. I love all this stuff. I mean, I know it's all like I'm getting all of my other stuff in before Wonderlands, because I know once Wonderlands is here, that's all I'm gonna want to do. I'm still gonna do tabletop and stuff like that, but I know that I'll just be like, Wonderlands, you have my soul, because it does already, and it's not even out yet. So yeah,
I'll say this before we wrap up too. There was somebody in the YouTube comment section who specifically was talking to you. I don't know if you saw it, but they were asking if you could do a video around it in the same vein as Table Story.
Oh, like a show for
because they're going through Table Story right now, and they think that everything that you guys were doing on it were very akin to something that would be great for when Bunkers and Badass is going out. So you've got fans out there who are waiting for that kind of content on YouTube, no less.
Yeah,
they're a tough crowd.
That's super, super, super cool, and I really, really appreciate you saying that and bringing that up. I definitely hope that can happen. I would love for that to happen on Table Story. I would love for that to happen right here on the Borderlands channel. It could be one, it could be the other, it could be both. I honestly don't know. It's like too soon to say because we don't actually have Bunkers and Badasses in our hands right now. But hopefully, certainly I've had that thought, and I hope that it can be something that comes to fruition somewhere on Twitch and YouTube. So the short answer is hopefully yes.
We shall see. So, with all that having been said, on behalf of Tess, myself, and the entire content creation team, thank you so much for joining us every single week. Now go forth and make some mayhem.